potholes are coming up. Yeah. And nobody, they don't sure want to say that.
Yeah. But what they have this, company that's doing their, they hired the public relations.
Oh, yeah.
And they're automatically putting that stuff out. That's why I think that's, I'm sure it's.
Yeah, the public relations just put it out, and the cities just take it out and post it out and say.
Yeah, but our stuff, when we do that, we get, at least, the board looks at it and says, okay,
That's from.
here's your thoughts. Do you anybody have any comments? Put it out.
Yeah. Generally, like, if it's just a, with a water district, you have a water smart, all that stuff just goes automatically, but there's something that was gonna, in essence, attack the GA or challenge, you would go to you guys.
Or if you're sitting there telling a town that you're gonna run out of water.
Yeah, but we'll probably let you guys know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's so, what's the use?
Well, we got a good, we're gonna have a good time in Sacramento.
Yeah. Really some good people. That's be well worth it. Heck, we may be busy seeing people and miss some of the seminar.
That's the more important part is actually seeing people
I think
who
so.
are really up there.
David's on his way to Las Vegas. I hope his weather holds for him.
I gotta go to Page, Arizona tomorrow night.
I wish I had more time, I do have something.
Are you doing this one or?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm feeling it. You just share it.
okay. We got 5 seconds in.
Yeah, you're gonna drive right by my house.
Okay, it is 3:00. We will call the admin exec meeting to order. Is there any committee or public comments?
Well, it's working. Okay, so I've heard a lot of off the record comment. I'm going to comment publicly. Response to recent post by the city of Ridgecrest. It says in bold letters, posted on behalf of the IWVGA. I don't know why they can't do their own post. Or what in the world the city has doing, passing on post propaganda put out by the Groundwater Authority. But anyway, I'll try to make this short. So it says Searles Valley Minerals is using lawsuits to catch this inflammatory language, using lawsuits to delay our water future. The latest claim about the GA withholding public information about groundwater sustainability efforts, which I know is a false statement. I know what they put in a Public Records Act request that wouldn't be honored, and now they're going to court to try to get the record of the groundwater model that the GA's been using. So they say this has been, they'll brag about how it's been developed over many years by many experts, blah, blah, blah. It's a public blocker. Yeah, well, it doesn't have the groundwater model in it. Been asked for 6 years. They won't put it out. Okay, now catch this part. These tactics are meant to stall the solution we desperately need, importing water to the basin before it runs dry. Like we couldn't take care of the problem before everybody runs out of water. And just happened to hear some comments by a knowledgeable person saying one gentleman in the valley said his well water level go up almost 2 feet. So we're going to run dry, panic. Let's fund the pipeline. Let's, slap the bad boys in the water district on the hand and Searles Valley on the hand and put an end to this stuff and give us boatloads of money so we can put in a pipeline. If you watch you really ought to watch the last council meeting where, of course, the board chairman of the GA read similar kind of propaganda after I berated the GA for some of their actions and the city for supporting such. And I just want to get this on the record. There's nothing you can do about it except the board could respond to posts like this, like they've done in the past. There's one newspaper left in town. There's Facebook around. There's other ways to get information out and clarify the untruthful statements made in posts like this. These guys are trying to railroad and run scared the public to get what they want and not have to prove their position in court. And It's unacceptable.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. I'm going to comment on that if it's not a problem.
Yeah.
I'm very troubled to see the post that was put on and shared by the city on behalf of the Groundwater Authority. I'm a board member on that Groundwater Authority, and I sure did not approve any type of a letter to get sent out like that. So it's very disheartening to me to see the scare tactics, and I am going to mention that at Wednesday's meeting, to scare the people in this valley that we are running out of water. It troubles me. We know that our wells, several of our wells have came up. We see posts on Facebook. The Kern County Water Agency is here now doing well sounding, and the data that's coming out, we seen one post today that I personally seen that was up 1.8 feet since their last reading. So I don't appreciate the scare tactics that are being pushed, and it's very troublesome as a member of that board also to see those posts go out without running it by the board, and I'm sure it would have got approved with me being the abstaining vote or the no vote, but it is troubling to me. So thank you, Mr. Neal.
And I agree with you. I think we see what's going on in national politics now where everybody's trying to scare everybody. You're going to die. Your water's going to go away. You're all going to be dead in the streets. And this is going to, I'm tired of hearing all this stuff. But I agree with Mike, but I want to caution. I think that anything that when you're fighting publicly in newspapers and media or whatever it may be, I don't like to see anything except facts published. I don't think we need to be throwing stones and saying, hey, you know, or saying non-factual things like we're going dry, things like that. So I caution that if we respond back in any way, even if we use our company that's been doing our public writing for us, is to make sure, and they've been pretty good at it. George watches that. We don't, no personal attacks. I think we all agree to that, just facts. So I agree.
Just one add on, there is a city council meeting tonight, 6 o'clock.
Thank you. Okay, any other public or committee comments? Okay, all right. Item 3, draft driver policy. Committee to review the draft driver's policy provided by SDRMA to reflect recent Senate Bill 1100 FEHA changes to driver's license requirements.
So legal is still reviewing the policy, so we're not going to present it here. We're just going to present it at the board meeting, if that's okay.
That's fine.
I'm
Yeah.
good with that.
And same with the next draft drug and alcohol policy for DOT drivers. That might actually be pushed until April, because
Okay.
that one's a long policy, but
Okay,
Right
so
now, we're
items
just
3 and 4, then we're just going to present at the board meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
good with that.
That's good. Yeah.
Okay. Item 5, stale dated check policy. Committee to review stale dated check policy. Is that Chris?
So this is one, it's been a long time coming. After the last audit visit, I got some good pointers from the auditors, so we updated the policy. And then I pushed Jim hard to get this done so we can get it on the books. It's basically, whenever we send out checks, whether it be refund checks or payments for services, sometimes they're never cashed. We try to follow up with people to get them to cash them, or if we need to issue a new check, and that doesn't always happen. So this allows us after 3 years, I believe, to go ahead and post those in the newspaper for people to come in and claim. And that, after that, instead of sending it to the state like a lot of businesses do, then we just retain that money.
Okay. And for the 3 years, we carry that as a, is it still carried as a liability?
It
on our
is
book
carried
for the
as a
full 3 years?
liability. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And in fact, after 1 year, if it's under $15, then we just wash it.
Just wash it.
Yep.
Why $15? Is that recommended by legal or?
That's California code.
Okay. All right.
Okay, any comments or questions on that?
No, I don't see any
Okay.
problem with this.
All right, number 6, outstanding public records request.
We just continue to work the one, I believe Chris and Lauren have been working with Jim on that, is that correct? And so it's an old one from 21 or 22? 21, I think. Yeah, and so it's old, but now that the court has proceeded to a certain point, some of that information can be released. That was not releasable before, and we're just working through the process.
Remind me again what that one was requesting?
It was requesting a ton of information about, I think, Tim and groundwater and regulations
Oh,
and
okay.
all kinds of stuff that was related to the adjudication.
Okay.
So they,
Yeah, we just want to make
approximately
sure
how
we
many
get those
emails
answered.
have you guys had to go through? Like thousands and thousands?
I know one account was about 4,000 emails.
Yeah, so it's a lot, when they make these public requests and they go, I want every email that had to do with A, B, C, D, E, and
And
when you do the search, and they had to go and open up Don's old email account, which we kept
Right.
the records as we should. It's a lot of work for our folks.
there
Who
were
was it
three- There were
from?
3 accounts. It
Who's the
was
request from?
the
It
Groundwater
was
Authority.
Groundwater Authority.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Now I remember that one. Yes, I do. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think it's good, and I know it takes time. I just want
Yeah.
to make sure that we are 100% open
Yeah.
with the public. I mean,
That's why we're gonna send them volumes of emails to read.
all right, thank you for that.
Right.
Okay, item 7, Mr. Neal, got a comment.
Just to comment, I've been involved with the city politics for a long time. And just from what I just heard, I can tell you, you're head and shoulders above the city in responding to those kind of requests. I put in a lot of public records requests over the years, and they obviously got to where at a certain point, they honed down this strategy of, well, we have to, even though we're going to send you an electronic response, we got to charge you by the page. So try to, make it cost you money to make a request. And, that didn't defer me any, but, the other thing is they try to play this trick of saying, well, you're not specific enough in your request. It's like you have to know exactly what you're looking for before you start asking for information to dig. So, and, this is kind of tricks they play because they either don't want me to see what's out there to be seen, or they're just, don't want to take the time to respond to the public. So, congrats to the Water District for, even though it takes a lot of work to being responsive.
Thank you for that. Any other comments?
Nope.
Okay, item 7, Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority. There is a meeting next Wednesday. The last meeting, I'll just kind of give a quick recap on it because I know we've discussed it, but there were several issues that they voted on, change orders, different issues that involved the pipeline. Just some additions to contracts, different planning. I did vote no on those. Anything that pertained to the pipeline, I voted no. I did not want to give the perception that in any way we were approving or joining in on the pipeline at this time. And so that was my reason for that. They did bring the Mojave pistachios settlement. I did abstain from that, and I told them I was going to abstain from that because we were not involved in any negotiations. We were not allowed in closed session to review any of that agreement, so I felt it was best to abstain from voting on that with not knowing anything about it or never being exposed at all. So I did abstain from that.
So the agreement was made public.
Yes.
Can you sum it up very quickly what the agreement?
They really didn't go through the whole agreement. They said there was going to be, I believe, they were going to do a new,
Because it wasn't
what's
in the
that called?
packet.
The transient pool.
Right.
And so that was on the agenda, but they're
Right.
going to actually discuss that at this month's
Right.
meeting, is what they said. It would be
Okay.
brought up at this month's meeting to discuss the transient pool.
Mhm.
But essentially what they said, there was 16,000 acre feet. Mojave was going to pay a pumping fee. And it
Yeah.
was rated on the amount of water that they pumped. And they
Right.
were going to allow them 16,000 acre feet of water, I believe, to continue pumping.
But
And
yeah, because in the packet, I didn't see anything about the agreement. I mean, it was on the agenda, but there was nothing really there. Okay.
and that's exactly what I said, that I couldn't
Yeah.
approve something that I wasn't involved in any way, form, or shape. So that's why I abstained.
Okay.
And you'll see some more of that, and I was discussing the agenda in our staff meeting today, so you'll see other, some requests for Provost and Pritchard. I think there's one for additional work on the NEPA analysis and some other stuff that you'll see at the next meeting,
Man,
Okay.
just so you
Yeah.
know.
plus and
So
plus.
in my opinion, it's best, I believe, I think that I'm probably going to speak too soon, but I think they're just throwing money at something right now. And I hate to see just money just kept getting thrown after a project when I don't fully support the project, so.
And I'd like to make a comment on the GA. We do have a request, and I think this is worthy of board discussion at the next board meeting. The GA has requested our support. They are at the 60% design phase for the imported water line project, and they want our support in finishing and finalizing the connection point design, how it's going to tie into our system, et cetera. You know, I know the board has come out with a formal statement opposing the pipeline, so there are essentially two sort of arguments made. One argument is, if it comes, should we be prepared to at least make the best of it, so to speak, and have the best design possible and provide comments, or because of our position in opposition to the pipeline, do we not cooperate? Now, my personal opinion is I think we should be the agency that sets the standard of cooperation, but you know, that is a tough one for the board to decide. So you have my opinion, and I think the full board should discuss it.
Yeah, it's great for the full board to discuss, but you know, in my opinion, not just cooperating or not cooperating, what does it mean to the water district if we have to take surface water to our tie-in? And what is the cost of that, which we already have an estimate on, and compare that to the cost of injection, okay? And just, I may be wrong, I'm pretty good at qualitative numbers. I believe that the cost to modify our system, everything we do, not including retraining and recertifying people for surface water, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $20 to $25 million. And I have to believe that you can do an injection well for $20 to $25 million. So I think it's a trade-off. And plus, if you want to benefit the whole valley, that's where I'm going to go with this. I can tell you right now. So if they're looking, are they going to be looking for an agreement with the board to approve their design for tie-in? Is that what they're going to be asking at the meeting? At our
They're not
meeting?
going to ask at the meeting. This is just an email request that
Okay.
came to me, but
All
I
right.
felt like it should rise to board
All right.
discussion.
Okay.
Simply because it would take a lot of our staff time. It is, you know, you made a really good point. It does give our staff an opportunity and our engineers an opportunity to say, here's really what would be required if you did it. And we could certainly, you know, that would be an advantage to us to sort of better nail down the things that would have to be done to our system if they tied in, because that 60% design would be an opportunity to do that. I will say also that I've asked our consultants to look it over and see if any of the information in there would change or modify our cost estimates. You know, have things changed? I know that there's some of the routing of some of the power lines has changed. I don't know if they've gone from above ground to underground or any of those things that might dramatically increase costs, or whether they've updated their electrical costs. So we will be looking at that too. But this is specific to their asking us to cooperate.
And my thoughts on that are, if we say we're going to cooperate and we support that design, in essence, we're supporting the pipeline. And so that's what concerns me, because I personally cannot support a pipeline that we have to put 5 lifting stations on, then we're going to burden the taxpayers of this valley for the next 30 to 40 years. And then again, when it needs to be replaced again, when it's much simpler to import water from the north, where we already have an aqueduct.
If we even need it.
If we even need it. And the water district already has the pumping rights to water in Inyo County, because we have a farm there. So there's already 1,200 to 1,500 acre feet of water right there that we could easily obtain.
Yeah.
And without having to do a long-term purchase. There's options at Little Lake that we've discussed. There's plenty of options out there that we can look at that are much more feasible. And like you mentioned, the injection well, if we're going to inject, the water would never leave Inyo County. We could inject it in Inyo County, and we would not be breaking any policies of Inyo County on export laws. So, and it's still going to be in our basin. So there's options out there. And that's what concerns me.
So I guess what you're asking, George, is that under, I know we're not approving the agenda yet, but I'm looking at it, under Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority, I think that, remember I talked about putting bullet points under there that we want to specifically discuss?
Yeah.
You may want to put that one.
Yeah, I agree.
And what I'm going to ask is this: I do know that our engineering firm, Krieger and Stewart, did a preliminary. I remember seeing a cost estimate
Yep.
Can we make sure we have that in our packets? If we,
Okay, I
can we-
can
do we-
get-
does it still, does it
Yeah.
still exist? I'm
Yeah,
sure it
Travis
does.
and Travis at Krieger and Stewart has it.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember it was a bullet point thing of, you have to do this with this pipeline, you have to do this, you have
and
to do
Lauren,
this, yeah.
I assume the agenda hasn't been put out yet, is that correct?
That's why,
So after this meeting, why don't you and I sit down and we'll put a couple sub-bullets, as Ron has suggested, under the agenda for the regular board meeting. to
yeah,
cover
because
this.
that's a very important point, because it looks like they're getting to that point where we're going to want a commitment from us. And it's a good time to reiterate what we're going to say, but it gives an opportunity to discuss this stuff then, Chuck, all right?
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I think the more we're open and can discuss it out in the public, I'd like to do.
Now, the other thing, of course, on this is it'd be nice to have had some kind of an agenda in front of you that you're going to have for Wednesday.
Well,
So
I
we
won't
could
get that
discuss
until
it. You won't get that till.
Sunday or Monday.
We would probably look at it Tuesday.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
And then I'm anticipating that there will also, I'm sure George could probably answer, they discussed it in the staff call, but I'm sure that they will be bringing the periodic review.
Yeah, and I will say, they put out the periodic review. We submitted a letter to DWR commenting on it because they had put out this deadline that was very, very short.
Correct.
And there's been some back and forth, and the board might want to discuss whether we want to make those documents public, like the back and forth that pertains to their, release of the periodic review, how fast we had to comment, what we commented on, their sort of response to DWR, and then our response to them as well.
Yes, correct, because we discussed that at the board meeting, and I asked them there. And of course, they went into detail about our model wasn't ready, and there probably was
They're
never.
going to
gonna be
harp
a
on that.
model,
They're
but
going to.
we do have a model, and it's going to be presented, and we know that. And so, and that's what I asked, why are we submitting this without a chance to have our consultants review it, input the data from this model, and let's look at the real science. If there is no fines, there's no real deadline for this periodic review. Mr. Lemieux assured me that you could do a periodic review at any time. So if our model comes out, then they will resubmit a periodic review. But
Okay. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot to discuss at the board meeting on Monday, under this, yeah, type of thing.
okay, so any public comments on the groundwater authority?
Yes, I could say a lot. I won't say everything I could. As far as you guys giving cooperation in the tie-in and the pipeline and all of that, I agree completely with Chuck. And let me just iterate, over the years, I find that it's better to go with your conscience, because that thing's going to be around and it's going to bug you for a long time, longer than anybody else is ever going to be bringing anything up to you. And if you put yourself in a position and then find out that, well, we didn't really support the pipeline, which this board, I believe, has said publicly, well, they do not support the pipeline, then you shouldn't be cooperating in any kind of tentative design efforts. Number one, what's the big hurry? Number two, well, this will be 2 and 3. Number 3 is what's going to happen. The GA is going to say, "Oh, look, there's the water district's changing their mind. They're support the pipeline. They're helping us in our design." You can count on that happening. But number one is, if you don't support the pipeline, then your position should be, no, thank you. We're not participating in any design studies, any feasibility studies, anything else, anything at all towards making that project happen. And, not until we lose in court and we have to do it, period.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we ain't going for it. So, the other thing, like I said, is this political chess game that these guys are waging very poorly with their posts, they need public response, because there's a lot of people out there, even after all this time, you can tell they don't get it. They haven't, they're just not, they're not watching, they're not listening, they're not educating, they haven't educated themselves. And so, it's like water's water. If it comes out my tap, good. And if it costs too much, put it in the water district, and, oh, we're going to run out of water. Well, this board said we're going to run out of water. Well, I guess they just want to believe that, because obviously the GA board knows a lot more about it than, I would probably say, 70% of the population of a town. because people they don't want to take the time to find out all the details and go through, it can get complicated, but, the simplistics of it are easy to grasp. And a lot of people they don't even go there. So the water district board position needs to be hard and firm on principle as to where they stand on this pipeline.
Thank you. One comment about everything that they do post, and Mike, you might know this. You'll see that these posts go up, and when you first see them, there's a lot of mostly negative comments about it, most of it. And then all of a sudden, those comments disappear. Have you noticed? Yeah, I was reminded of that by our staff here. Yeah, exactly. So that says something. So yes, I do believe that the public needs to be better informed or try to be more informed. But I'm telling you that the public that's responding and seeing these posts it's mostly negative on their part. Yeah. Right.
And I will make one comment on that. Because I don't want to get into a slandering moment or anything and saying that somebody's deleting. A lot of those posts are reshared and shared. And so if you go back to the original post, a lot of times you'll find those, because that's what I thought. I looked and thought, oh, they deleted
I
this
did the
stuff.
same thing.
And so if you go back and you find their original post,
Then you'll see the
then
attached
you'll see
comments.
the actual comments. And
okay.
then somebody else shared it, but it's still, you don't get all the comments.
Oh,
So
I
it's
see what-
kind of confusing
Yeah.
if you just look at it from abroad. So
Right.
So what you'll find is wherever the GA posted stuff originally, they'll have one set of comments.
Mhm.
On the city page, there'll be another set of comments. On the WTF Rich Grips page, there'll be another set of comments.
Okay.
That's what you'll see.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess it kind of just blows my mind that the city would share on a page called WTF. It just
Yeah.
blows my mind. But anyway,
WT.
I mean, that's what it's called. What
No, that's
WTF is happening in Ridgecrest.
The-
So, and
Oh,
that's the,
Jesus.
so
the city forwarded it there to
Yeah.
that.
yeah,
Wow.
it kind of blew me away that they at least posted on that page, but.
Oh, well, okay.
Okay, so we'll move on then. We'll go to item 8, alternate water sources. I think we've pretty much discussed that. Yeah,
One
Talk
quick-
about wastewater maybe.
No, one quick note. I was approached by the Navy. The Navy has been selected to be one of 3 bases cooperating in something like environmental resiliency program. And this means using natural means to help combat resiliency on the base. One of their resilient issues is water. So the base approached me and said, one possible thing is that if we start exploring areas where we might be able to capture, say, water running off in the mountains or in events that the times where LADW dumps, and if you can build natural capture basins, they might want to work with us to do that. That was a very positive sign from the Navy to just do something that makes good common sense. And if they're part of that program, so we're going to work with them to see what that process is. So I thought that was encouraging.
So what, just because I'm thinking outside the box, but I know there's several canyons up above us. If you go to Five Fingers, Sand Canyon, Grapevine,
Yep.
Indian Wells, all of those have water running at the bottom of those, usually year round. What could that potentially mean? Maybe doing some horizontal drilling into some of those and then running a line to where we're not affecting anybody upstream from that, but that water is just going in, and when you watch it, it just instantly percolates when it hits the desert floor.
Yeah, maybe-
That's
there may
kind
be
of exactly
potential.
what we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Oh, okay.
But, it would, because then you have to go through the proper permitting and then make
Yes.
sure you're not harming the species or the plants and all the other.
Yeah.
And it was a lot like what we wanted to do in the really wet year, was that 2023, 2024? And
We couldn't. because
we
of the-
just didn't get there. But now, now we maybe have a path. So we have Tim Parker is going to look at like where these are feasible. We're going to try to work with the Navy, and if the Navy can help us fund it, that would be fantastic. Just another benefit to the valley.
Yeah, I believe that a percolation area would be very effective, and maybe we need to pursue that, because I don't want to get into what we happened last time when the releases were going on and we were held up with Fish and Game and State and Wildlife and all these issues. If we could do it, I know the city owns 360 acres at the base of Sand Canyon, so maybe there's a little bit of a negotiation
Yeah.
tool there we could do with them, because if you look at the Onyx Hunt, it shows their property is one quadrant right there.
And I think in essence, that program would probably be, that process would be to go through all that permitting and get all that stuff done. And dot all those Tis and cross all those Ts and get all those permits in place so that we can do the right thing when the time comes.
What you brought up about those areas where water flows, if you look back to Pierre Saint-Armand's paper, where maybe I can't see it, he many years ago advocated little coffer dams in those areas. We
Called them galleries.
Was that?
He called them galleries.
I call them, he called them,
Galleries.
coffer dams, but gallery, I guess so. We talked about this before.
Yeah, they were
But that's
infiltration.
another way, but that's something, it could be a project we talk about then. All right.
There's pretty good swimming holes at most of them, right?
Yeah. All right.
Okay, item 9, draft agenda for the regular board meeting, committee to discuss the agenda. So I've looked through it, and I think with the few changes that we discussed, maybe adding on the groundwater comments, I don't know if there's anything
Yeah,
else you
there's-
wanted to add, Ron?
Well, there is, we talked about it yesterday as well, and George knows about this. One of them obviously is the potential for tying the pipeline in. Do we want to have a full board discussion on that?
Yes.
And get an agreement from the board, yes or no? And the other one, I don't know if you want to put this under the groundwater authority. You may want to put it as its own item where we talked about moving ahead with anything to do with wastewater treatment. I believe that deserves a public discussion at this time based on what we're being told by the city, and I'm definitely going to talk about it. I want an opportunity to talk about it somewhere on here.
Yeah, so we'll make sure there's an appropriate place
Yeah.
to talk about it.
Okay, great. And the last one, of course, is what you mentioned about the potential of this Navy approaching you about ideas. Is that something we want to get on here now, or you want to hold back onto you delve into more the process of what we will need to do?
Yeah. At this point, it's just been a conversation, and John is
Okay.
out this week, and so we'll meet.
You don't need a
next week.
decision for the board of any kind at this point.
We
Yeah.
don't, it's just an advisory thing, and so I think
Okay.
I just wanted you guys to understand that might be coming forward.
Okay. With that, I don't see anything that needs, except for those couple of bullet points he wants to add. And okay, Mike wants to put something on too.
Yeah, Mike Neal again. Okay, I told you I was gonna keep beating this. So I'm gonna make a request that, I don't know if you can figure out if there's a better way to possibly word this, if you want to do this, that the board pass a resolution to direct the manager, have his staff do the estimate study of how much water could be saved by the pumping by the water district if all the existing green lawn front yards were eliminated. I'm guessing 1,000 acre feet. There's still a lot of grass lawns all dotted all around town. And we got the aerial data. This was presented several years ago. We got the software to help you home in on the stuff. I know it probably takes a little work, obviously, time to do that. But once you know the total square footage of grass area and just in front lawn, so people would be palatable. They could still have grass in their backyard. And you can just do the evapotranspiration calculation and say, we could save this, find out what it is. Now, if I'm very far off and it's only 300 acre feet, probably not worth it. But if it turns out to be 1,000 acre feet, then basically, my wife made sure to tell me, don't suggest coercing people into doing this. And I said, I would never, after all these years of advocating for freedom for people, I would never even go there. But there's friendly ways to get people to be in tune with the facts and the fact that, what you guys already put out was this pipeline comes your way, triple your water bill. People would probably say, well, get rid of my front yard grass can help to, avoid that, I'll be willing to do it. And ping on the state about unfunded mandates and say, hey, we need some grant money to talk these people into doing this. And first we need to find out, is it enough of it? Would it be enough of an effect to be worth chasing or not? If we don't do it, we'll never know.
Okay.
I would just like to comment back to you, Mr. Neal, and I appreciate your comments, and I agree with you 99% of the time. But here's my issue. We did a cash for grass, and a lot of grass was removed, but we didn't even use all of the funds because there wasn't enough people that wanted to do it. So we couldn't even use those funds that were there. And I personally, I want to see some grass. What I don't want to see happen is everybody pull out their grass, quit watering their trees, and that's what
Right.
happened. And
Yeah.
if you drive down the streets, people pulled their grass out and they didn't have irrigation in for their trees, so their trees died. And
Yeah.
I don't want to see our town look completely just devastated. And I think the parks are important. I really think the baseball fields, the softball fields, the stuff for the youth, I want to see all that
Yeah, I have
prosper.
that.
And it's hard to tell the public you can't have this when the city has it and they're not part of us. I mean, they're watering from their own wells on most of their areas, and they have taken some grass out, and I know they have plans to do more. But that's my concern. I don't want to see us
Yeah.
go through a program again and then have a bunch of money just left that nobody's going to use because they don't want to take the grass out.
Well,
And I appreciate what you're
That
saying.
comes
I
second.
understand.
The first step is, is it even worth chasing?
Yes.
Is there enough green grass front lawn to get rid of around town to make a big difference or not? Because, if it's a big difference, then the board might go, whoa, it's worth trying to talk people, basically, I'm just advocating if it looks worth it, then try to talk to people, try to get more information out, help them understand what they could be avoiding by doing their part of that. Because, I've already done that, I went out with pick and shovel and all that and xeriscape my front yard. Because I didn't think people would want to
Water
buy a
your
house
trees.
with seeing grass in the yard, go, oh, I gotta water that grass, But I do water the trees, and that's all you gotta do is just, get people to understand, if you get rid of the grass, make sure you got watering on the
Yeah,
trees.
yeah.
And warn them, so that I've seen this happen in a guy's house, the tree ended up falling over.
Yeah.
Because the roots are dead, boom, they can't support it.
Yeah.
So, they just need to know like 3 or 4 facts, if you even go down that road. The first step is just to get the numbers.
Yeah, and I pulled all the grass out of my house because I wanted to see the difference. I don't have one blade of grass that
I
I
don't
know
either.
of.
I don't have any.
So
But it's not a whole lot of difference, and so that, it troubles me a little bit to see that. I mean, my bill is a little bit lower, but not what it was. I am more in tune, and I know you may disagree with this, but I would rather us put a program in place where we can do conversions on these swamp
I want
coolers.
to make a comment about that, if I can.
But if we,
Yes.
that's great.
Yeah,
And
it's-
that's my opinion. If we can get to people's, to where their systems are paid for to switch from the swamp cooler to ACs, I think it will be much more beneficial and we'll lose, the water usage would be, I would think, equivalent to what you're talking about in the grass. So
And that's why I wanted to go there, because I believe that staff has told us that as soon as those swamp coolers kick on, it's equivalent to about 1,500 acre feet. That's a lot of water. And I texted back and forth to Jason a little bit, said, is there an easy way that you could come up with the idea of roughly how many swamp coolers there are? And if we have that, then we could proceed with looking for funds available to do what you're saying, because I advocate with going to someone and say, and I don't know, we need a resolution for this. This is just a project, is go to them and say, by the way, there's money available. If you agree to remove your swamp cooler, then here's the money that's available to put in a split system along with a compatible solar power system. If you present that to people and there's money available to make that happen, I'm saying,
There's a savings there.
there's a big savings there. And I think that's more bang for the buck. But I don't think we need a resolution or anything to do it. It's just one of those things that George needs to put on his list of things to do, and the staff can, work an extra 5, 10, 15 hours a day. No, I'm just.
So let me say this. There's the best information we're going to have in that arena comes from the California Conservation Way of Life. They did the flyover. I know they've looked at irrigable versus non-irrigable land, how much their estimates were. First things I'll say is when we talked to the company that did that, it turned out, I believe, Jason, they said we were by far and away the place they surveyed that had the least amount of green. Like we were like 65,
Yeah, the
66%.
Normal areas were about 30%, and we were at 60% not irrigated.
So when they fly over, like 60% of the land, it was basically bare land. I think they said they hardly saw anybody that was above 50%, and we were like so out of the norm. So that's an indication that we've done a lot, and a lot more than other people. But we can look at, we can kind of look at that data And it will take some time. I don't think we're gonna get to it at the next board meeting, but we'll talk about the comparison of that versus how much water we think we're using for this irrigation. And remember, a lot of that is for trees, because trees show up as green as well. And then, we can look at the swamp coolers and other potential places.
Can we plan to maybe at the next workshop? Let's just do this
Yeah.
at the next workshop, that gives everybody time to gather information.
Sure.
Great, thanks.
Like it.
All right, any other comments? Okay, any future agenda items? Okay, then we will adjourn at 3:38.
My meetings, Monday, we went to 4:30, I think, and yesterday to about 4.
Did you guys hear Pat Ferris passed away this morning?
Oh, no.
I guess nobody heard.
Yeah, about
Oh,
11 this morning.
Oh, how sad is that? I just found that Lynn Colley passed away too.
Yeah, Lynn passed away
That was
about 3 weeks ago.
Unnoticed, I mean,
Just unexpected.
unexpected, yeah.
So,
Pat wasn't doing very well and she passed away this morning.
who's taking care of, did her brother live up there at the house with her?
No, her son,
Is that her son in the wheelchair?
Paul, yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
and then Paul and Laura, and then
And Laura lives in.
I thought Laura moved up to.
Laura
Idaho.
moved up, she moved to Idaho,
Yeah, to be with her kids, near their father.
and then Bill's here, so,
Oh.
and then, I don't know.